Hi everyone. Once we've done all the lighting and applying the materials for our model, I'm ready to apply some textures. So in the previous videos, I showed how I create paint schemes and with JPEGs and apply to my geometries. And most of the time, that's the technique I would personally use. But there's another technique that I found super cool in Rhino V6, and it's called decals. So in V5, I just want to make a parenthesis. In V5, the decal function, I sort of didn't like it. All right, it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. It was very fussy, and it caused more frustrations to me than anything else. So the decal wasn't optimized. It works sometimes, yes, but it's not as good as the decals they've completely rebuilt in the V6 version. So if you use V6 or V7 of Rhino, I think it's an awesome function. So let me illustrate this for you. So what I did first is that in Photoshop, I created just a bunch of stripes like that. And it's a transparent background. And I crushed it and I saved it as a PNG file instead of JPEG. If you save it as a JPEG, when you save it, the background will be white. And I don't want that. I want it to be transparent, all right? So that's why I saved it as a PNG. It's a great format to save transparencies. And also make sure that the size of your image, like I showed for the texture mapping, that the size of your texture, as a reminder, make it like at least 2000 pixels wide. Make it fairly high resolution, so that it's nice and crisp, okay? And once I've done that, you just save it as a PNG file, all right? So it preserves the transparency. So now I'm ready to apply these stripes into the body of my mecha. So for example, I can select the booster, the body, and the left-hand side booster as well. And I'm gonna put myself in the left viewport. So I'm just gonna right click on the right tab and go to set view and select left instead of right. And in the properties tab, you've got the object. The second icon is called the material. So we've seen all that. How to texture map on the third icon. And the fourth icon is called decals. So once you've clicked on decals, you see a little window here. And you have a little preview window at the bottom here. All right. So if I click on the plus sign, you can see that already it says add decal to selected object. So I click on the plus sign. And it's going to take me to my PNG file. So I'm going to choose stripes first, and I'm going to click open. So now in the decal mapping, it's a bit like a texture mapping. Basically, it's asking you if you want to do a planar mapping, a UV, cylindrical, or spherical type of mapping. And the direction forward, backward, and both. And I'll get to that a bit later. So I'm just going to choose the simplest way of mapping, which is the planar one. And I'm just going to click OK. So now it says in the command line, first corner of rectangle. So I'm going to place the first point randomly about here, and I'm just going to draw. So you already see the effect of the decal in the rendered mode, what it looks like. All right. So I'm just going to position it roughly just to have an idea. Let's say something like that. I'm doing on purpose to have the stripes end about here. All right. And let's say that you want to modify the position of your decal. So I've deselected my geometries. I'm just going to reselect my geometries once again. So I'm going to go back in the perspective tab and make sure you select all the proper geometries where you've applied the decal. And going back to my left viewport, you've got here, you see the planar map stripes, all right, being applied. And you've got here show decal widget, and you can delete your decal as well. So obviously I don't want to delete it, I want to modify it. So I'm going to click on the show decal widget. And it's a bit similar to the texture mappings that we've seen before. So you've got here your widget. So I select all the mapping widgets. I've got multiple mapping widgets. You see here I've got 3 mapping widgets because I've applied to 3 different kind of geometry. So I'm going to select all of these mapping widgets, and with my gumball active, I'm just going to move this so that I can modify it. Or you can also resize it using the gumball. So you can make a scale 1D by clicking on one of the handles of your gumball. So I make a 1D scale along the x-axis, or I can do it on the y-axis like that. or you can press Shift and select one of the handles and you do a 2D scale. All right, so I'm just going to zoom it out a bit like that. You can also, like I did for the texture mapping exercise, you can also click here on the left hand side of the toolbar, the show object control points. And now I've got the control points that I can select individually one by one. And with the gumball active, I can drag these control points further down like that and just create an envelope that just covers the area that I want it to be covered. So I'm just going to modify it slightly, pull it a bit further back like that until I'm happy with the end result. So I'm just maybe going to push these further back here, something like that. And if you're happy, you just right click to remove the control points on this icon, for example. And then, I need to go back to my decal, so I'm just going to select my objects. And if I go in the perspective tab, just want to make sure that I also select the last one, those three geometries, so the two boosters and the body. And I'm just going to click on hide decal widget, like so. And there you have it. So if I rotate my object, you're going to see that it's only on one side. All right, so let me select all the geometries once again. And if we go in the menu further down here in this region, you can see that you've got the position of your decals. And here you can also set the transparency, by the way. So I'll let you play with that if you want. And here you've got direction. So I mentioned that earlier, you can have it forward. And let me show the decal so that you can see also what's going on. So you see the arrows where they're pointing? This is the forward direction basically. All right. So let me select these decals. And if I go in the menu, instead of direction being forward, I select backward. You're going to notice that the paint scheme disappears on that side, and you can see the arrows where they're pointing. This is the direction of the projection. So now if I rotate, it's on the other side. All right. So select your decals again, and instead of being backward, you can also do both. So it's going to simultaneously make a projection on both sides, as the name says it. All right. So now I've selected that. I can select all my decals, and I can hide them again to have an overall view of the object. So now I can rotate and look what it looks like. And there you go. It's very simple. Now you're not just stuck with one decal. You can add multiple decals. So for example, I can go on the booster here, and let's go to the left viewport. And I'm going to add another decal. So you can add, I don't know what's the limit exactly, but I think you can add quite a few decals, quite a few details. So you can imagine you can add like ejection seat, danger logo type of things, all sorts of drawings, panel signs, etc., etc. So you're not just limited with one image. I'm going to add another decal. So I'm going to click again on the plus sign. So just make sure that you're on the decal menu, click on the plus sign, and go and find the other PNG file. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to click open. I'm going to keep it at planar direction forward. Click OK. And I'm going to apply it about here. And there you have it. Now, because it's blue on blue, obviously you're losing a bit of details. So what I'm going to do is that now you can see that it's superimposed. Okay. And I'm going to select this booster. And you can see now the two decals being applied. So let's say that I want to get rid of the stripes. I'm just going to select planar map stripes, and I'm going to click on the little X symbol to delete the decal so that I'm only remaining with this one. So I need to select again my object. If I want to modify it, you click on show decal here. And you should be able, let me go to the wireframe mode just to see, wireframe mode. There is my decal. So it's inside the boosters. That's why it's kind of hard to see it. Or I could have put myself in the ghosted mode. But once you've selected the widget, you just move it around. You can press shift and select the gumball handle to resize it and do it like that. All right. So I need to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to select my booster. I'm going to click on the X sign to delete the decal here. And I'm going to put myself, instead of the left viewport at the bottom of my screen, I'm just going to right click on the left thumbnail, and I'm going to go to set view and do a right projection this time. maximize my my viewport. I'm going to select the booster. All right, and again in the decal menu, I click on the plus sign, go and find the symbol, click open, and click planar. Now there's something, if you want to position exactly as I've done for the opposite booster, what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on the wireframe, and you can see the original decal that I applied on the right hand side booster. Just make sure that on the snapping toolbar, activate it, and you snap in endpoint, and you can grab this endpoint of your decal and snap to the other corner of that widget, and there you have it. So now I apply the decal at the right position and the proper size for the left hand side booster. So if I switch to the rendered mode, you can see now the logo being applied exactly as a mirror to the other side. So now let me go into the perspective mode. Set view, perspective, there you go, and there you have it. Okay, so simple as that. This is the decal function. Now I'm working in the rendered mode, by the way, okay, but there's also another options for those of you who are interested. Personally, I really like how it shows the materials in this rendered mode, but you also have in Rhino v6 the real-time rendering. It's called the ray traced mode here. So we've got the different ones. We've already explored the ghosted, wireframe. You can have technical, artistic, pen. I'm not going to go through them one by one. I'm going to let you explore those. But there's also the ray trace mode. So if I switch to the ray trace mode, it's going to take a bit of time. And you can see now that the computer is working on it. So applying the shaders and all that stuff. And this is what it looks like in the ray trace mode. So you can see at the bottom it's using Rhino cycles, all right? And you can see if you follow my cursor, the time that I'm giving it to render. So there's no time limit really. Well, the only limit, if you look at the right hand side, you can see there's a progress bar. It's going to 1000 cycles. Okay, so it's calculating up to 1000 cycles, and if you double left click, you can adjust, modify the number of cycles. So by default it's 1000 cycles, and I change it to 1500 cycles. If you want, you can have it to 2000 cycles, depending on how crisp the image you want. But you can appreciate now you've got the reflections on the gun and all that. It's a bit more refined as a renderer compared to the rendered mode that I showed in at the beginning. Okay, and yeah, I noticed also there's a sort of bug. So if you rotate, it's going to recalculate. And I noticed something like there's a sort of bug, like you may notice that the decal here is missing. Maybe you need some readjustments. Try it by separating just a surface from the booster and reapply the decal. So me personally, that's one of the reasons I like to play with the rendered mode. I don't play too much personally with the ray traced mode. I'll leave that to you. But me, I'm very happy with this result here. All right, and just as a reminder, because you're working in this mode rendered, you can turn on the sprocket. All right, make sure that you're on display. Find the display tab. Oops, I'm dragging the column. That's okay. And just, you know, you can have the definitely you want the shadows on. You want the surface edges on. All right, so it adds more detail. You see the difference, right? So I'm gonna add the edges. You can have the ISO curves if you wish. Okay. The curves definitely. So you might want to have the curves that I projected into the geometries, and it's adding so much details now, and it's really describing the volumes quite well. You can really feel the volumes, and it makes really describes the product quite well, and that's what it's all about. It's communicating the design intent properly. With as many details as you can create, and there you have it. Okay, so this is the decal function in Rhino v6 and v7. I'm not sure if they've done improvements with Rhino v7. I suspect it. You know, it could be even better. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but there you go. So as a footnote, also a lot of people ask me how to model this this object. All right. And I promised I would do a tutorial about it, and I'm going to show you how to build this from scratch. and I will let you know when it'll be ready. Okay, it's in the plans. I'm gonna do a tutorial on how to build from scratch this type of mecha. All right, so I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your attention. Have a good one.